show. I'm super excited to have a good friend of mine here today, someone that I respect a lot. This is Chris Burns. Chris is a entrepreneur, local entrepreneur, an author, published author, and a social media expert. And I'm so excited to talk with him about something that I'm actually going to learn a lot from today as well as a small business owner. So I'm super excited to do that. But before we get into it, Chris, do you just want to give us a kind of background on yourself, a little information?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was great. We'll just leave it at that. No, I'm kidding. Okay. By the way, you can be a published author and you can self-publish. So it doesn't require a whole lot of talent to write your own book. But I did write a book a few years ago that I have out on Amazon. Co-owner of a couple of small businesses. And then the last 3 years, been a part of Be Connected, and that's where you get the tagline of social media expert. I don't like to refer to myself as that, but I've been working in marketing for probably close to 20 years. And for me, that all really started back in high school when I was in marketing class and joined DECA, which is basically like a club for marketing for nerds. And I was pretty heavily involved in that, and that's really what springboarded me to want to really study and major in marketing in college. And ever since then, I've been a little bit of an entrepreneur and always wanted to be a small business owner of myself, and kind of springboarded a lot of my experience and my talent, my knowledge into business and books. And kind of in the last decade, I've really always worked with social media and with marketing in some capacity. And right now I'm really thankful and fortunate to be able to have my day job in social media, which is something I'm really passionate about, while also being able to live my dream of being an entrepreneur. So kind of become the best of both worlds for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Super fascinating guy. I've been really enjoying getting to know your story over the last however long it's been. Chris, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so when you called me and asked me to be on the show, one of the things I said is really the hot topic with amongst our business and our clients is talent acquisition and talent retention. So the unemployment rate right now in the state is arguably anywhere between 2.1, 2.4%, which is historic lows. Mm-hmm. And so as a social media management company, the number one goal, if not the number two goal for almost every single one of our clients is how do we find people? How do we retain people? So basically...
Wait, you're a social media company?
Yeah.
Most people don't think about social media and employee retention and traction. So that's really interesting.
I know. And I have no background in human resources. That's actually my wife. But over the last handful of years, as we've seen the economy continue to grow, and we've seen the unemployment rate drop off, naturally businesses are more concerned right now in retaining the talent they have and finding new talent over building their business. Because in my opinion, probably if you ask a lot of other business leaders, is number one most important goal is your people, your talent. Because if you take care of your people and you have good culture, they'll take care of your customers and your clients, and they'll represent your business well. And so it takes good people to run a good business, and consumers or businesses want to do business with other businesses who have their stuff together. And so I think the underlying factor is talent. And so it's retaining and finding new talent. And so a lot of companies who are active on social are pivoting their strategy slightly to include talent acquisition.
And this is so interesting because, like I said, I don't think most, especially small businesses, they don't see social media as a way to deal with the HR problems that they're having or the challenges that they're facing. So let's dive into that because, I feel like there's a lot to unpack here. So how do you start? When you work with a client, or when you approach someone and you're we're going to help you with attracting talent and also retaining talent, what does that look like? Or where do you start with that?
Yeah, good question. I'm glad you asked. So a lot of small to medium businesses are kind of siloed, and what I mean by that is you've got one pot of people who work in marketing, one pot of people who work in HR, one pot of people who work in sales, and then you get another group who's the C-suite. And there's multiple groups of people now in the corporate world or small business world, but very seldom do they work together collaboratively or cohesively.
Yeah.
And so when we onboard with a client, if that's one of their main goals and objectives is, it seems like I am bringing those teams together to say, okay, well, if we're going to be active on social media, we're going to invest in social media, how do we make this work? Because you can't just talk about sales. You can't just talk about your product. You can't just talk about your service. You can't just talk about your culture or your people. You have to have a variety of themes to be interesting.
Yeah.
And so if all you did was talk about one thing, it wouldn't matter if you're Coca-Cola or you're Taco Bell or name any other big successful company. So part of it is creating a strategy and getting buy-in from these different departments. So if you're a small business or medium-sized business listening, if you're going to invest in social, my suggestion to you would be make sure you've got the 2 or 3 objectives from the HR department, the 2 or 3 objectives from the marketing department, the 2 or 3 objectives from the sales department, and then tie in the business goals. And that's probably where the C-suite comes in, is how do you coalesce the business goals with the digital goals, which are social media. And ultimately they should be aligned, because the number one goal for marketing is usually more sales driven or it's more awareness driven, but a company has so many more goals than that. But I think with social media now, people are spending a lot of time on the platform and we're shopping, but we're not going to social media to do shopping, but we're there to do shopping, which is where companies are now finding success with putting out ads and putting out information about how they can attract talent, which we're going to dive into here quickly.
Yeah. So let's dive right in. I mean, where do you begin? I mean, obviously I've seen things on social media about jobs and stuff, and things have even, I wonder what that company does. And so, I've seen the social media kind of go into a lot more job postings, opportunities that exist out there. But where do you start? Where do we begin with that?
Yeah, that's interesting too, because it really all starts with a strategy. But a lot of small businesses, particularly in some medium businesses, they don't have a strategy for their social media. But if you ask them about a business strategy, a business plan, financial goals, most businesses have that. So if you're going to invest any time in social, you got to have that plan. And part of that is knowing the difference between being proactive and reactive. So reactive marketing would be, say for example, you have a small company and you lose 2 to 3 people this week or within the month. You know that you need to go out, you need to hire some talented people, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to post on Indeed, Simply Hired, LinkedIn, and name any other job board that you've used in the past. So you're casting what I think is a pretty small net, but you're also being reactive. So to me, I wouldn't expect a lot of results. If you're proactive, I'm thinking more on the macro, which is the big picture, think of it as a quarter or a year, you're looking far out. You're going to have in your plan maybe posting once a week on social media about culture and about hiring. So some of the smartest companies who always have talented people in the hopper, they have this ongoing loop of hiring or interviews, so that they've always got people in the pipeline they can hire if they have or they have a need in any given department. And so what that looks like in a digital or social plan is, like I said, you're posting once or twice a week. And what exactly are you posting about? Well, you're talking about things like culture, so that when someone sees the ad, they say, I'm going to check them out. And they click on the page and they see supporting content that suggests you're a great employer, you're a fun place to work, you've got good average tenure, you celebrate your people. There's a lot of other things like that we'll talk about quickly.
Yeah, I mean, so let's talk about that, because it sounds like what you're saying is people judge you by what content you put out as a business. And so you're saying that the trend has been that when people are looking for work, either actively or passively, that a usual next step for them is looking into what kind of content is being posted or what are they saying on the website. I mean, is that true? And
100%.
I mean,
you're absolutely right. And I would say what I bring that whole back to is consumer behavior. So we've done a lot of research, and I have, on what gets someone to react to something, whether it be in marketing or in this case in looking for a job. And so if you take people who are actively looking, chances are right now, those are people who are more likely to be unemployed, which is fine. But if you take people who are passively looking, it means they don't really have an intent to go out and seek any one of those websites where they can filter through all kinds of different job posts. But they're open to an opportunity if one is presented to them. meaning like in a Facebook or a Google ad or something like that, where they say ABC company is hiring, great pay, they click on that. That would be passively looking. So what happens with a lot of the businesses who are successful in this on social media is they run ads. So they're casting a wider net by using a tool that is Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Instagram, whatever it might be, and they're reaching people who are currently employed. So if you see an ad that appeals to you, Andrew, and it says good pay, you're interested. The first thing you're likely to do, and this is true of most younger professionals, particularly millennials, is they'll click on the ad and they'll go to the Facebook page, in this case, and they'll audit. What are they looking for? Well, they may not know it, but subconsciously they're looking to validate the business. So how long have they been around? Is this a fly-by-night startup, or is this a tenured business who's been in the community for 20 years? Once they know that you're a legitimate company, they're looking to see, are there people there like me? So whether you're young or you're old or male or female, whatever it might be, you want to know if there's like-minded people there. They want to know, is the business defined by the four walls? I mean, do we do things out in the community? Do we support nonprofits? Do we do team building exercises? And does it look like fun ultimately? Because nobody wants to go work at an environment that looks boring and stale. And you don't have to have a brand new office or brand new environment with ping pong tables and an arcade, but it has to look like people enjoy working there, and you celebrate that success. And so once they do an audit, then they're likely to go to your webpage. And one of the reasons why consumers, or in this case job applicants, are not going to a website first is because we all know that if you compare social media to a website, you get corporate speak on a website. It's like, and you get the story of we were founded, or the timeline, which I should say is, well, we were founded in 1950. 1952, we moved to Kaukauna from Appleton. In 1954, we hired our 10th person. In 1965, we bought a company. Yeah. Ultimately, who cares? And I hate to say that, but what people are looking for is not your timeline, not your history. They're looking to know, will I feel a purpose? Will I belong? Will I fit in? Is it fun to work there? Will I enjoy myself? Because you want to keep people. We can't make false promises with this stuff, but if you truly have good culture, you should showcase it, and I think that will bleed through on social media.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like when you're a person, I think about it, like if you're a person who's wondering, maybe is the grass greener somewhere else? Mm-hmm. You do this investigation kind of thing, and of course you're hoping that it's very, that the grass isn't just appearing to be greener, but it actually is. Yeah. But I think, this is really insightful. Like that people do go look at the social media accounts, see what kind of activity is going on there, to see if this is a culture that they could see themselves in. Like are they going to be on that company's social media page being celebrated someday? Or are they going to be volunteering when they go out as a group to help out at some nonprofit organization or something? I think this is super insightful. Would you say though? So you mentioned like social media is probably where they first go to investigate. Yeah. But you're still saying that the website is still kind of important. Like you should keep that up to date and an accurate reflection of who you are as a company.
Absolutely. In fact, not being someone who works in recruiting, I can tell you as an organization that helps drive traffic to recruiting sites, there are a lot of successful employers who are finding people even in this difficult time in the unemployment war, is they have a landing page dedicated specifically to people and culture and talent. So it might be, abccompany.com /talent or /apply here. And they talk about the things that people want to know, or that they ask questions about in the interview, which is, what's it like here? What is the dress code? What do we do for fun? Do we celebrate our people? Is there opportunity for growth? I mean, we all want to know what the job pays. We all want to know what the benefits are, insurance, health, dental, things like that. But what are the things that you get the most amount of questions back in an interview process that you can lay out there? Or more importantly, what are the things that differentiate you as an employer in comparison to the 357 other companies here in our backyard? And we're competing against everybody, really. So regardless of the industry, if you're looking for, factory workers to part-time help to interns, people can intern anywhere. I mean, everyone's hiring interns right now leading into summer. So you have to think about what separates you, your why, basically, as Simon Sinek says. Why should someone come to work for you? You have to sell them. And I really think that now more than ever in the talent war, the power is in the hands of the job applicant. They have more power than ever before, whereas before, when the unemployment rate was higher, the employer had all the talent, all the pull.
Yeah, this is good. So, Chris, what are some things that businesses can do today, like practical examples and takeaways that they can start doing today to start using social media as a method to attract and retain talent?
Sure, and I think when you get started with anything, the big thing is creating a plan. So we talk to businesses, regardless of what you want to do in life or in business, I think you should always have a plan, or in this case, a strategy. And it could really be as simple as a one-page document, where it's something that you can use or your boss can use to hold yourself accountable, that says, here's what we're going to do, here's our plan. Our plan is we're going to use digital marketing, or in this case specifically social. We're going to post 1 to 2 times a week, annually, ongoing, and we're going to talk about these 5 to 10 things. And we're going to go through some tactics in just a moment. So strategy is great because strategies are not set in stone or in concrete. They are designed to pivot and change and evolve. So if you are successful in hiring those 3 people we talked about before in the first month, awesome, good for you. But we all know as we continue to grow and succeed, we're going to need more people. So let's continue to fill that social media pipeline with content that supports our culture and the cool things we do at this organization. So I'm going to run through some themes and some concepts. So if you have one of your strategies in social is talent acquisition and talent retention, and I firmly believe you can't have one without the other, because if you want to bring new people in, you should also be focusing on retaining people. In fact, I'd say retaining is probably 1A to the 1B. But there's a couple of themes you can put in this bucket, and think of it that way. Each objective you have on social media should be a bucket, and you might have 3 or 4 of them. And number 1 is the talent bucket. So what are we going to put in there? We're going to document. So we're going to document cool things like team building events. We're going to talk about community involvement. We're going to talk about company and product pride. So if you manufacture or sell products, if you take a lot of pride in the things that you sell, people will know that it's believable, right? And so that those things are important. I mentioned before talking about a timeline. I'm not a big fan of timelines. I don't think they work. I don't think you can copy and paste and put it onto social media. That's typically when we see pretty poor results. So emphasize the storytelling. And what I mean by that is take your average company that's been around for 50 to 100 years, celebrating a big anniversary. Even if it's 10, 15, 20, doesn't matter. Tell the story, but tell it through the lens of the adversity. Every company, business owner, entrepreneur has had challenges. And that is what makes a story interesting. If you are willing to be
conflict,
willing to be vulnerable and let your guard down and talk about, look, we had a fire in the building, or we got robbed, whatever the case might be, how we overcame all these obstacles and roadblocks to get here. That's where people can buy in and they say, wow, you really worked hard, you persevered, you did it, and we're going to champion that story at 15 years or 50 years. Celebrate that success and underline the story in storytelling. And so
you're saying timeline or stories over timeline?
Absolutely.
For Chris Burns, and I think for probably a lot of people that are looking.
Yeah.
Cool.
I also know too that team building events. You might talk to 10 people and one person tells you they don't like team building events, but I can tell you no one's ever said they didn't appreciate when the company took them out to dinner, or they went bowling, went to a Timber Rattlers game, whatever it might be. So if you do fun things out in the community, document that stuff. I think it's really important. There are probably even a growing number of millennials that care more and more about the environment and the community than maybe even some of the older workforce. And I would say that if you showcase your community involvement, whether it be a coat drive, whether it be giving back where you're volunteering at a local race or a golf outing, showcase that your company cares about making the environment and the community a better place. Thought leadership is another one that I think is probably one of the most underutilized tactics on social media. So whether you're in healthcare, legal, finance, whatever it might be, It's easy if you're in finance and legal that you can take time on social media to create videos like this one where you can educate people.
Yeah.
So if you're showcasing your knowledge and your experience and your passion or compassion in some cases, people may want to work with you as a byproduct. I take this back to my days. I had my real estate license for a very short period of time. I thought, oh,
I
that'd
know
be
that
fun.
one. I got to
It
write
might be-
realtor on here.
No, that was a different lifetime ago. I thought maybe this would be fun, right? This would be cool. I could build up to it, and I could learn, and maybe make some extra money in my spare time. And what I learned was that, do you want to work with a part-time realtor or a part-time dentist? I don't want to work with a part-time dentist or
Yeah.
chiropractor. I want to work with the best.
Yeah.
And so it's important that you can showcase that you have the experience, the knowledge, the passion, and as a byproduct, when you showcase that, you add value to people's newsfeed. In many cases, they'll want to do business with you. And if you look at your competitors, I would doubt that a lot of your competitors are doing that. So it gives you a leg up on the competition from a sales perspective.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, getting to things like celebrating your people. I talk to a lot of businesses about that, and I say, you know, can you take one of your newest employees, say Susie, who's been with the company for 3 months, and take a picture of them, put them on social, and say, welcome to the team, Susie. And usually met with, well, why don't we post about Joe, who's been here for 15 years? And I said, well, let's post about both of them.
Yeah.
Let's showcase that Susie, although she's brand new, is as important to the team as Joe, who's been here for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
So celebrating all of your people. And when you do celebrate work anniversaries, which I know is a big one right now, instead of saying Susie is celebrating 10 years, because again, who cares? Let's talk about Susie's story, about how she's had 3 promotions. She started as a single mom. She took advantage of the college reimbursement program that we offer at our place of employment. And she not only completed that, but she went through 2 or 3 promotions, and she's now VP of sales or VP of HR. And we're celebrating Susie's success at our company.
Yeah.
That to me is far more interesting when you think about the storytelling narrative, rather than just slapping something up that says, hey, you know, congrats Susie, 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And again, it goes back to this story theme that keeps coming back in our conversation.
Yeah.
Is anytime you can tell a story, you know, that seems to be what you should be doing. And what's also interesting about this, I think, is, you know, just overall, and I'm sure you have some other points too.
Just 2 more.
But overall, so far, these have all been free things that you can do. Like, this isn't,
You can
you
do
know,
it right now.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend any money.
Exactly. Like, this isn't anything that's going to cost you a ton of money or even like a ton of time, because it's just, I mean, maybe time to invest, you know, to write these stories and stuff, but they're all things that are very low cost. you
Yeah,
know?
and easy to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I often say that there's no excuse. So if you have a strategy and you have a content calendar where you can implement this, there's no reason why you can't post once or twice a week
Yeah.
relating to these categories, these tactics.
Yeah.
And if we all have a phone, we all carry around these phones that are, you know, anywhere from $500 to $1,500 that take amazing photos and videos. They're definitely social media quality.
Yeah.
You can document. It takes seconds to pull the phone out of your back pocket, snap a photo of a team working together in the office or at a team building event. And so the question would be, why not? Why aren't you doing this right now?
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
if you are undervaluing talent acquisition or talent retention, you know, maybe you're living in a different world where, you know, you're fending off people who are wanting to work for you, but I doubt that's the case.
what world you're in. Yeah.
And just as a bonus, I'm going to give you 2 extras that, one, I think both of them are probably really overlooked, and the next one is diversity and inclusion. There are so many different types of people that walk on the earth, and you can put them in different categories, which we won't do because that wouldn't be practicing good diversity and inclusion, but you want to make sure that, like I said before, everybody's welcome, everybody's valuable, and you have to showcase that there are different types of people that work at your place of employment because, you know, hopefully you want all kinds of people to work for you, right?
Yeah.
And so that is something we see growing, and it's certainly important. I would encourage companies to showcase that. A lot of bigger corporations have those programs already built in, or they're implementing those as we speak. And the final one that I'll leave people with, and this is more of a question, is do you have fun? Does your company have fun? And I'm also always met with the question of what do you mean? And I said, well, at Be Connected we have a ping pong table, and it's amazing how adding a ping pong table, which is low cost, has continued to boost and improve morale. Where we'll just do a pickup game. It takes 5 minutes. People get up from their desk. It's actually a pretty good exercise, and you get paired up with people that maybe you don't talk to as frequently. And it's amazing at how people are laughing, they're crying because we're laughing so hard, we're cracking jokes. What do you do that's fun? And there are a lot of companies that are fun in different ways. It doesn't have to be through a ping pong table, it can be through any one of these things we've talked about. But if you have fun, showcase it, document it through photos and videos. And it's pretty easy for that to bleed through on social media. And even if you are in some of those industries that are hard to promote, like healthcare, legal, finance, you can still have fun. We don't have to be robots because we all need to hire, right? And we're all going to need to hire if you have more than a couple people working for you. So get out there and use some of these tactics. I think it's important. And the final one is, it kind of falls into this category, but if you really want to reach new people, specifically through social media, you have to advertise, Andrew. I know that you know that, but you need some kind of a monthly or ongoing budget. Just like with this being proactive versus reactive, you can't just flip a switch and hope and pray, which is being reactive, that ads are going to work, that a post is going to work. You have to use this and think of this as being a macro, ongoing strategy. And if you do that, if you give this 3 to 4 months, or realistically 6 months to a year, you'll start to see you're building momentum. And like any business, there's no overnight success. You could run an ad campaign and you could spend $20 a day starting now, but that doesn't mean or equate success. Success, just like this and anything in business, is a recipe, and it takes a lot of these ingredients to get the final product, which is, are you hiring people? Are you retaining people? And every recipe is going to look a little bit different. It's kind of like if you travel the country and ask people how to make a pot of chili, you're going to get people with meat, without meat, with noodles, without noodles, spicy, not spicy, etc., etc. And so find the recipe that works for you and build it. But the thing is, you just have to do it, right? You got to start.
You have to start, right?
And like you said, it's inexpensive. It's easy to do. If you just focus on the talent, you don't have to invest a lot of time. So again, why aren't you doing this? Why not?
No, this is great. And honestly, what I love about it is, it is low cost. It can help you long term, which is so important, especially with human resources. But then thirdly, it's like, as someone who's managing our own social media right now, you're always thinking like, okay, you just seem to like, sometimes you get exhausted on content. It's like, what can I put? What's new or fresh or whatever? So it's more content for you. I mean, it's not necessarily easy, the easiest content to post, but it's your team. It's celebrating who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's one of those content pools that you can pull from that isn't talking about your products all the time or whatever. It can be part of the bigger picture and the bigger strategy.
Well, let me ask you this. So personally, do you connect with products or do you connect with people?
Gosh, so I'll tell you this, the literally when I look at a SaaS product, or really any kind of product, one of the first pages I go to is about company or about team. For whatever reason, I like seeing real people behind real products. And so for me, and I think you're right about the timeline thing. It's not like, timelines are kind of boring. If I see a bunch of dates on there, like, I probably don't care about that. But what I do care about is like, what's their CEO like, or how big is their team? Kind of. I mean, that's not even that important. Are they passionate? Especially like in a day, an age like ours, there's so many companies out there, especially software companies and or SaaS companies. You kind of want to know that there's like real humans behind this that are like gonna be there for you. So I'm definitely sold on people, and I connect with people probably over product. Obviously, I'm looking for a certain product. Yeah. But I guess I look for a certain product that's backed by people that make an impact on me.
Yeah, I think personally, if you have the choice, I mean, outside of going grocery shopping, where you obviously don't know the people behind the cereal company or the yogurt company,
Yeah.
if you have a choice, particularly when you're buying local, you're likely to choose person over product. So if you choose a dealership, it's because of the people there, the service. A jewelry store, you're choosing usually people. Even in that case, it's rare you choose price over people. You're gonna go, even if it's 10% more, a place where you trust somebody, you feel comfortable, they gave you great service.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, people are willing to spend a couple dollars more if they know, hey, in 5 years when I want to upgrade, I can get my full investment back and I can buy a new diamond ring or a new pair of earrings for my wife.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. And so I think you buy people first in most cases. And so if you can showcase people in your first impression on social, why wouldn't it be more positive? When I see smiling faces, it's easy to like that. It's easy to share a comment. It makes you feel good. But when you see products, when you see other things, it's more sterile.
Yeah, and I think like that's for customers and for potential talent that's coming out, and I think that's what you're saying.
All marketing,
you know,
I think.
it's the people behind you are, many people say, your most valuable asset.
Yeah.
You know, the humans that are actually making this happen. And people, I think, especially in the knowledge management realm, we talk frequently about like how sometimes our competitors, like, they almost lie in their marketing. They're like, you know, if you use our system, it'll cut this amount because you're spending this amount training people. And they give this kind of impression of like, you can just cut people out of this. Like, you don't need you don't need to do in-person training. You can just send them to this site.
It doesn't work like that for everybody.
It doesn't. And what I think is like, I think employees, and from what we've heard and talked to people, employees, when they, especially a new team member, like, they want that human interaction.
Yeah.
That's important to them.
They do.
It's not like if they're just gonna go learn from a computer and have no interaction with humans, like, I think it can be part of why like a workspace can be miserable for certain people.
Yeah.
And so like, we understand and we've seen and talked with people about the importance of empowering your team to connect and show each other and share knowledge with each other, which is specifically for us, but this is, I'm sure, for a lot of other businesses, and it kind of goes along the same premise of highlight your people because they're your most valuable asset, celebrate your people because they're your most valuable asset, and
they're more important than your customers in almost all cases, I think.
Yeah.
Because if you take care of your people who work at your company or work with you for you, they're going to take care of their people, which are their clients or our clients.
And they're going to be
company.
champions for your customers.
Yeah, and customers will appreciate that. They'll see it. If you want to work with someone who champions their brand, I do. I want to work with, like I said, the best doctor, the best chiropractor. If they care the most, they know the most. Those things are important.
Yeah.
And if you take care of your people, they'll demonstrate that behavior with great enthusiasm, I think.
Yeah, I love that. Well, hey, Chris, thanks a lot for your time today. This has been a lot of fun to talk about.
Yeah.
I think it can be really eye-opening, and especially for small businesses. I mean, I think a lot of times they think of social media as like, oh, I have to do social media.
Yeah, they do.
And I think like celebrating your people is something that a lot of business owners like doing. They understand that.
Yeah.
So, you know, this conversation about like using social media to celebrate your people, it can actually be kind of fun, I think.
Yeah, it should be.
And you know, something that I was going to mention earlier is, you know, when I was working, you know, my full-time job, we were working with a couple of vendors, and I remember that one of the representatives that I was working with through this company was highlighted on their social media. And that's actually a really cool moment for me. I'm like, oh wow, you know, there's John, like on you know, being celebrated by his company. Like, I'm so happy to know that John is treated well.
Yeah.
You know, and that made me feel so much better as a customer and as a client of theirs. So I think it just has so much positive impact, and the barrier to entry is so low. And a couple like important highlights from this conversation, and feel free to add any more. But what I'm pulling away is you should always have a strategy.
Yeah.
That should be your starting point, and your continual reference. And then you really just got to start and pay attention to the buckets that we've highlighted, as you know, kind of a launch pad to get started and get some ideas rolling. But really, these are your people. Tell their story.
Yeah.
And tell the story of the business. Tell the story of how you've developed the culture that you have, and it can go a long way with customers, but then also with attracting and retaining your most valuable asset, which is employees.
Yeah, I think of the impact it can have on your business, not just from, and you said the word, it can feel good, it can be fun, or funny in some cases. If that's the impact it has on team morale, and the impact it has on acquiring or retaining talent, why wouldn't you do it? And that's the other thing we probably didn't talk about is results and what is the impact. Well, think about it this way. If you're casting a net now, you're fishing with a pretty small net in most cases, because companies use job boards. And you name the ones that you use. They use Indeed, Career Builder, Simply Hired, LinkedIn, maybe name a few others that I'm not thinking of. And what you're gonna get in results is probably just people who are actively looking, which is, in today's rate, I'm guessing 20% of the population or less. But what if you could reach 50, 60, 70% of the population who are active on social media? Well, you can, but most people aren't casting that net because they're not leveraging social media for talent acquisition and talent retention.
Yeah.
And for all the reasons you and I both mentioned, with low barrier to entry, low cost, how easy it is, why wouldn't you do it? But the full caveat is you want to be successful on social, this can't be the only theme or the only bucket. This would complement all the other things you're doing.
Yeah.
But even if you hired 2 people because of it, or even one more person that you didn't find through the other ways or means of fishing you were doing in the past, that pays for itself, because it can be 3, 4, 5, 6 months before you can find the right person. And the cost to bring someone on can be very expensive. So, why not try it? Why not cast that net and see what happens?
But I also think, from the retention standpoint, making your employees feel good, I mean, you can't measure, there's no way of measuring, what that's worth.
Yeah.
And there's no way of knowing, well, if I wouldn't have celebrated them on social media, or celebrated our culture on social media, or whatever it is, that they wouldn't have stuck with me. There's no way of knowing.
Yeah, but any good leader can see that and feel that in an
Yeah.
office. If you're in an office that has 20, 30 people or more, you can just kind of see it in the air when you go and you walk through and you see people working together and being happy and collaborating and high-fiving and laughing. You'll know you have that. And if you do have it now, there's no reason not to, because that stuff bleeds through. It becomes very transparent. And you take social media from being stale and boring, or borderline boring, to being fun and likable.
Yeah.
And people want content that's likable. People want to like stuff. They don't want to be passive on social. And that's why it's called social media.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, Chris, thanks again for your time today and your intellect and your expertise on this. I've had a lot of fun talking about it. If people want to reach out to you and connect with you, how can they do that? How can they learn more?
You can connect with me on via email. I'm Chris at beconnectedllc.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. Hope to connect with you guys soon.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot, everyone, for listening. Chris Burns, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.